God's creative design on the piano. Well, this is Dr. Bonnie Woodruff, and after authoring 15 books, Bond's Way Fast Track Music Educational System, I thought I was done. And then all of a sudden, God said, no, there's more to put in the book to help people to understand God's creative design on the piano. So, may I introduce to you the understanding of the design and system in music related to the spectrum and the vibrations, light and air, color vibrations, and sound vibrations associated with the 12 pitches and the 7 pitches on the piano. I will also show you the numeral codes that God has too in this design. So a picture is worth 1,000 words, so the saying goes. The above charts of the keyboard certainly says a lot on page 1. It is important that you carefully look this over and continue to see God's design in the following pages associated with God's numeral codes. And this is free to everyone, and you can email me and I'll cyberspace it to you. Or if there's some way you can copy this off, you're welcome to do that too. So why the colors on the 7 natural tones? The spectrum and vibrations, light and air, color vibrations and sound vibrations associated with the 7 pitches on the piano. Color is the vibrations of light, and sound is caused by the vibrations of air. And if you study music, you probably already know this, but my research reveals a whole lot more. There is a relationship between the two, the color and the vibrations, so that a particular color corresponds to a particular note, a sound in music. Hence, there are 7 colors answering to the 7 musical sounds. And it is found that sounds which harmonize correspond with colors that harmonize, while discords in colors correspond with discords in music. Now, that is something that most of us as musicians have never looked at, is the correspondence of the colors and how the sound relates to that color. We know if we just look at the colors, there are 3 primary colors, red, yellow, blue, of which all the others precede. So the secondary colors answer to the 3 primary colors with the right sounds matching the colors called the trichord or the common chord, and the 4 secondary, orange, green, indigo, and violet. So the primary is what? Red, yellow, and blue. When I finished this research, there was something I could not hesitate to not say. Sufficient has been said to show that in the works of God all is perfect harmony, order and design, aesthetic, intelligent, scientific, and even symmetric, both in number and design. And if it's perfect in design, then one corresponds with the other in a real and wonderful manner. And since I have studied music since the age of 3 and I'm 70 now, I see the perfect design in music. But I have also been a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ and God the Father. So I didn't struggle with saying I don't think he had anything to do with it. I never had that kind of struggle. I always knew he had something to do with it. And in one of my travels, when he was relating to me that I needed to do this study and research, I came upon some dome things that looked like they were pointed towards the heaven, and I stopped in the building that was associated with it, and I analyzed it, and we could see the readings and we could hear the sounds, and I noticed they were pointed, which they told me, pointed towards different stars, and there was music coming through, tones were coming through, and with that tone, a color. And I thought, oh my goodness. I listened to the red tone and it was C. I listened to the different colors and I could identify the 7 tones from just listening to those radio signals. So please note that the radio signals we receive from the stars of the heavens sings. The radio signals are also received in colors and perfectly corresponding together with the sound and the color as they relate to each other as shown concerning the study of light and sound. It would be interesting to find out how many vibrations in sound they are receiving along with the spectrum in color, because as we will be learning through this study that within a spectrum of 7 colors there are 264 vibrations of sound. So you see, we read about other things that are associated with what I'm talking about in other things that we can learn about in our universe and on Earth. So the musical alphabet of the 7 tones is the natural tones. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C has a divine order, primarily and secondary colors and vibration of sound, corresponding perfectly together. I don't see how this could just happen by accident. The one great question now is, may we not expect to find the same phenomena in that greatest of all, God's works? And what is God's works? His Word, the Bible, the Holy Bible, nothing added or taken away from it, but just His holy Word that He presented through man. Man might have wrote it down, but it was God's voice that they heard. Just like when I did this research, I kept having to inquire, where do I go now? Where do I find this? You're telling me this in my mind, and I'm wondering, where do I find it? Now, you may not understand that type of way of doing research, but I believe He is the great designer. So as I was saying, the range of 264 vibrations in the scale diagram shows in the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And on examining this diagram, it will be at once seen that the number 11 is stamped upon music. And you're going to learn what this 11 means in the spiritual application too of God. And we may also say that it's stamped 3 and it's stamped 7. So you're going to learn the meaning of this. There are 7 different natural tones, like I've said, and that 7 tones we are dealing with in my music program. We start with the major scale Ys. That's the tonal formulation that we start with and continue the study in. There is a difference between each one, so that there are practically 264 notes in the scale, but the ear cannot detect them. Oh, the ear of a skilled violinist can detect many more than an ordinary untrained ear, but not equal in this respect to the human voice. Can you imagine? We are wonderfully made. We are better than an instrument, which far excels every instrument that man can make. So the mechanical action of a pianoforte can only record 12 of these notes in the middle, higher tones or lower tones. And if you go to the last tone, how come there's only 88 keys on the keyboard? Though there is an instrument, they added a few more tones in the bass. But you get too low, your ear can't hear, and you go too high, your ears cannot hear it. So that's a little footnote there. So I present C as red, D as orange, E as yellow, F as green, G as blue, A as indigo, and B as violet. And you're going to find out God's design and his thoughts in this design through this study. And to understand why this design and what I found out through research, I would love for you to read God's design on the piano. It is wonderful, and I hope that to hear from you. And I do lectures on this, but I think it's time that I kind of sit back at age 70 and let it go on the YouTube, and you get it and you just have the information. So when you sit down at that piano or you listen to music, you can maybe visualize God through this reading of this research. You can have a fuller picture of what God intended for you to have. And God bless you. And I really look forward to hearing from you concerning this book. Bye-bye now.